Belting out high notes ain't easy, but today I've got my top 4 tips for belting high. Welcome back to Singing Tips with LJDstudios, the space where we take difficult singing concepts and break them down so you can actually understand and implement them for better singing. I'm Laura, and today I have my top 4 hacks for belting out high notes without straining. But before we get into it, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and if you haven't already, download my free guide, The 3-Tiered Approach to Becoming a Better Singer, linked in the description. Additionally, if you would like some feedback on your singing from yours truly, but don't feel up yet for private lessons, check out my membership option. It's a low-cost way to get some feedback on your singing. You'll also get unlimited access to my online library of all my favorite vocal exercises. You can join the live monthly masterclass and more, so make sure to check that out as well. That's linked in the description too. All right, here we go. My top 4 tips for belting high notes. Number 1, use twang. If you don't know what twang is, check out my video on twang versus nasality. But twang is the experience of resonance up here in our face and in our nasal cavity. And there is actually a little bit of nasality to twang, but let's not get into that just now. But let's just say it feels like the sound is vibrating off some of the bones in your face. If you want to get real specific about it, twang is when the epiglottis, which is the flap that covers your windpipe to keep you from choking, raises up toward the vocal folds and creates like a little funnel so that you get more power without more force. Cool. I don't know how to lift my epiglottis, and I'm guessing you don't either. So I come back to the first thing I said, which is twang is the experience of resonance up here in our face and in our nose. So one way you can practice that is with nasal consonants or very bright vowels or a combination of that. So you might have seen videos where there's like a nyeh, nyeh, nyeh. It's a great way to do it. Nyeh, 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 nyeh. Nyeh, 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 nyeh. Nyeh, 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 nyeh. I'm going to troubleshoot this one for you because I know a lot of people have a hard time with that. It's nyeh, nyeh, nyeh. It's not yeah, yeah, yeah. Right? I think a lot of the time we are performing the exercise and we think we're doing it and we're struggling because the vowel is too big. Yeah, 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 yeah. That vowel's way too big. It needs to be a small, small vowel. Yeah, Right, you hear how nasal that is? Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. That makes it a lot easier. So if you've tried that exercise and you're struggling, your vowel is probably too big. It's too It needs to be more in your nose. Like, you know what game I loved when I was a kid? Taboo. If you don't know what I'm talking about, it has a buzzer that goes, That's the vowel you want. You want to sound like a buzzer. Now, I know that doesn't sound great. You're not going to sing it that way forever, but it will show you like, oh, this is what it feels like to kind of put the pressure here and take the pressure off of here. So step number 1, use twang. Tip number 2, this is a little more nuanced. But speaking of resonance, and if you don't know what resonance is, I describe resonance as where we feel sound vibrating. Whether or not it is another story, but where we experience the sound vibrating. So when we're belting, we are predominantly in chest voice. It feels more like chest voice than head voice. If you don't know what chest voice and head voice are, check out my videos on chest voice and head voice. But belting is typically a more chest voice dominant style of singing, okay? So chest voice is a little bit heavier, and that's why when we go higher, we feel like we're straining because we've got all this weight from chest voice, right? So chest voice is named as it is because we experience the resonance here. I'm going to suggest, not that you're going to abandon that feeling of resonance here, but that you put your mind where your hard palate is. Okay, what do I mean by that? So your hard palate, first of all, take your tongue to the roof of your mouth, just behind your upper teeth, and draw it back. There's a ridge there, okay? That's your hard palate. Well, even behind that is your hard palate, really. But I want you to imagine that the sound is resonating right at the ridge of your hard palate. This is just in your imagination, okay? But your imagination is your way of communicating from your brain to your body, okay? So it's got power, right? But that's all you're gonna do. You're just gonna imagine the sound vibrating at your hard palate rather than focusing it so much here, okay? So I'm gonna take something that's not quite as nasal so that I take the excessive twang out of it, and I can just practice aiming to the hard palate. I'm gonna go bat, bat, bat. But I'm really gonna practice just thinking about all the sound going right to my hard palate, okay? So I'm gonna go ba, 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 ba. Now, if I'm not thinking hard palate, it feels like this. Ba, 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 and I really feel like I'm shouting versus ba, 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 ba. It took me a couple of tries, but I finally got it there, all the way to the hard palate. It's just in your mind. Your imagination is very powerful. Don't discredit that, okay? So that's tip number 2. Send the resonance to your hard palate rather than centering it at your chest. Tip number 3, talk, don't shout, okay? So as we go higher, right, if we feel like we're shouting, then we're gonna start to feel like we're straining. So take your speaking voice and move it up higher. So defying gravity, right? If you're doing like, I think I'll try defying gravity. If I'm really shouting it, I think I'm shouting it, right? And I'm straining. So instead I'm going to talk it. I'm going to go, I think I'll try defying gravity. I think okay, that's roughly the note. I think I'll try defying gravity. Okay, so tip number 3, speak as close to the pitch as you can. Don't shout, but speak it. And then when you go to sing, aim for the spoken quality rather than the shouted quality. I've saved the best for last, you guys. Tip number 4 is potentially the most complicated, but the most effective. Tip number 4 is to make one vowel shape with your mouth and a different vowel shape with your throat. So let me explain. If you say an vowel, that is naturally going to put your larynx in a slightly lowered position. Then it really needs to be like a deep so it's not that's a much higher position. Is a much deeper position of the larynx. When we're shouting, which often equals straining, the larynx really yanks up. Now, disclaimer, your larynx is going to lift in all likelihood. When you're going for these higher pitches, it should. It's just if it goes too far, that's what causes that feeling of strain or that shout quality. So we're gonna counteract your larynx's desire to go all the way up by suggesting a vowel that brings the larynx into a slightly lowered position. Okay, so let's use this defying gravity example, right? I think I'll try defying gravity. The vowel is up there. I'm gonna think but I'm gonna say and again, it's like your mind is so powerful in all of this, you guys. So just don't discredit that. Think say So I go, I think I'll try. Man, that felt a lot better actually than when I did it a moment ago. Right? Versus I think I'm thinking and my larynx is yanking up versus I think I'll try defying gravity. Okay? Whatever the vowel is, it could be an E vowel for all I know, or O or whatever. Whatever the vowel is, say the word, but in your brain, in your imagination, think If that's not working for you, troubleshoot it. Actually just do it on an So I would do the whole thing on a ma and go ma 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 ma. Try it that way so you can kind of feel what it's like to do it on an vowel. Then go back, sing the words, but think Okay, there you have it. Those are my top 4 tips for belting high without straining. Good luck, you guys. Happy singing.